It's time for a new video, and what we're going to do now is look into some key Excel functions and then move on to complex functions and how they work. So the function that I'm going to look at now is the SUMIF function. That will add up values if they are, over or less than a certain amount. So for example, what I would like to do is I'd like to add up any costs, for example, within the total drinks cost, food costs, hall hire and band, where they're greater than a certain value. And the greater than that I'm going to use is I'm going to say, well, if it's greater than, say, 10% of the overall value, and so I'm going to use this as a criteria field. So what you need to do is to type in the SUMIF, and it'll say that you need to type in a range. And this range is the range that you're going to use for your calculations. So I'm going to select these values here. That means that I'm going to be trying to find records that are greater than 10%. So I'm going to go greater than 0.1, which is greater than 10%. That's my criteria. And the sum range I'm going to use is this particular area. So it's saying that if I can find a value that's greater than 10% here, then I'm going to add up these two values here. And then I close brackets. And I also need to make sure that that criteria is in inverted commas. And there you go, 25,518, 25. And that's the value of the drinks and the food cost together. So I can use a SUMIF total to do interesting things such as that. Next one I'm going to do is a round total. So if I have a value that's actually not rounded, I can use the round or the round up or the round down function to actually get these values in a more simplified version. So if I wanted to round, for example, the kids' price for quality 1, $9.75, and I round that to 0 decimal places, that means that I put in a number and I say how many decimal places I want to round to. Then I round to $10, and that's to 0 decimal places. Now if I wanted to do a round up, I can do a round up, and that automatically rounds the value up. So I might say, for example, the quality 2, I want to round this value up to the nearest whole number. So again to 0, and that rounds it up to $17. So from $16.25, it rounds it up. And I can also use the round down function to round down no matter what. And I can say, for example, this value, I'm going to round down to the nearest whole value. And so it'll go $9.75, and then it'll say, well, okay, I'm going to round it down to the nearest whole number. So the nearest whole number is 9, and so it takes the value and it puts it in as 9. So these are all very useful functions that you can use in Microsoft Excel, and they certainly help in this example. What we're wanting to do here, though, is to use what is known as a complex function. Now, a complex function is the use of two functions at the same time. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the amount for the bottles of both wine and soft drink and gain values that we can use here that are actually using two functions at the same time. So one example I'm going to use is for the wine function. I'm going to use equals round up. Because if I don't want a half a bottle of wine, if I've got a half a bottle of wine, I've got to purchase a whole bottle of wine. Then I will say, how do we calculate our wine? Well, we need to know the amount of glasses per adult times by the size of the glass. And then I need to know how many adults I've got. All those three things combined. And then what I want to do is I want to divide that value by the size of the wine bottle. So divided by 750 mils. And what that gives me is the amount of overall bottles that I'll need. But then I want to round it to the nearest bottle. And so I put in that 0. So this value here where it says I7 times K7 times B4 divided by I4, that's using basic formulas, but it's using this function. So this value here is effectively a number. It's all of these added together, so I don't need to say I need to do this value in one other field and then round it up again. I can actually put them all in the same cell and do those two calculations, or 1, 2, 3, 4 with the round up, so the multiplications, the division and the round up all in the one function. And it comes out as 549, which is very helpful. And the other one we want to do is a soft drink. So with a soft drink, and we can do equals round up, and let's see if we've got enough time. We don't have enough time, so we'll do that in the next session. Thanks very much.